Hi everybody, this is Angel Arts, and this is the Sinlyn Trials vlog for session number 9. As always, if you haven't watched up through session 9, then I highly recommend that you do before watching this, lest I start giving away a bunch of spoilers. So, here we go. First and foremost, and I've already kind of discussed this at great length during the session itself, so I don't want to dwell too much on it. But I had informed Devin that my biggest critique of the session was just in general the pacing, and it isn't necessarily the session itself was paced badly. It was just the fact that the way it worked out, it seemed a little drawn out. How just to find out where our friend Wambach was, we had to go from A to B to C to D to E to F. We ended up having to, find these string of leads that eventually got us somewhere, but at that point, several hours of the session had already gone past, and then the session ended. And that session in of itself wasn't paced badly alone by itself, standalone by itself, just because it was nice to be able to get to get acquainted with the city and with the citizen and get the feel for the entire new area of this campaign. But it was just because the previous sessions were slower sessions and not nearly as action packed. It was because of the previous string of sessions that this felt drawn out. So as Devin explained, a lot of it had to do with the circumstances surrounding Blaze's sword, and when because of one thing ended up leading to another. That's why we ended up not going right into the Dracu portion, which is what he originally intended, which was meant to be more action packed. And I got that, but I don't know. I just feel like as a GM, you could have controlled that a little bit more, such that that didn't happen. And I mean, I think Devin is aware that perhaps there were some things that maybe some decisions or some things that could have been done differently, just to allow for us to reach the action quicker. Like maybe somehow redesigned it on the fly such that we got the information that we ended up getting quicker, like if not still at the rusty hinge, but then some other way we would have gotten the information. I don't know. That was the only way I could see around it, because you have to, as a GM, it's hard. And I don't mean to critique Devin, but I think it's important for me to discuss this because I really haven't had any major critiques about any of the sessions up to this point. So this was definitely probably the largest critiques that I've had. And so for me as a player, in my opinion, I think that measures could have been made to trump. I don't want to say, there's a balance between giving people the freedom to do whatever they want and get consequences for the freedom that they want, but at the same time, the most important thing is to make sure that your players are having fun. Regardless of anything, fun and enjoyment trumps everything else, really. Enjoyment between the players and the DM. And that's not to say that you can't challenge the players, and that's not to say that you can't frustrate the players to a certain point that it becomes fulfilling when they overcome such frustration. There wasn't a point to the frustration or the drawn outness, mostly because, again, Dylan didn't really intend it that way. Devin heard what we said loud and clear, and next session the pace will probably quicken up a bit more. But that being all said, I am glad that we were able to touch on more about Blaze's sword. The thing about Andrew is that he role plays Blaze so well that it makes me genuinely nervous as a player when he interacts with certain characters. For example, of course, there was the whole thing at the Rusty Hinge and the mountain, but then there was also the maitre d' with the bread rolls, and then him, like, I ended up turning really, my heart started to kind of stopped a little bit when he started chatting with Ray and referred to him as the Destroyer or referred to him as the Sleepy One. Like, I had my hands on my face, was like, oh my gosh. Like, I know Andrew's not trying to get us all killed, and I know he's not trying to completely destroy this side of the world, but I'm like, he's playing in character, but it's just, so frustrating. So it makes me nervous. It makes me so nervous that Andrew is playing so well in character, and it's tough because if I was playing Quinn in character, she may not necessarily be capable of interfering before whatever Blaze is going to say, he ends up saying, the words that comes out of his mouth. I don't know if she'll be able to help recover from that. I mean, again, with what was happening with Quinn off of the Rusty Hinge, like, I was ready to roll a persuasion for Quinn to try to diffuse the situation between Blaze and the Mountain, but then the Mountain said something to Quinn, and I don't remember exactly what the words were, but he to put it nicely, he basically told her to shut up. And I think for Quinn, she took it as, even though he didn't say this in the exact same words as eloquently, she took it as, I shut up, you weak woman. I'm this big burly strong man, because she's used to big burly strong men to think that they have the right to tell women to shut up. Women should be seen and not heard, and that kind of stuff. So she took it as not only an attack due to his sheer rudeness and brashness, because she's used to that, but she's a bit of a she has this feminist. There's a feminist side to Quinn, and if she felt like there was a hint of chauvinist behind what the mountain guy said, and even if he didn't actually have that, didn't even intend for that to be anything chauvinistic necessarily, she definitely took it as such, and that was what set her off. And me, the player, I didn't want her to get upset. I didn't want to pile on, with Blaze on this mountain guy, because I was ready to defuse the situation, but it's what Quinn would have done. It's one of her flaws that I kind of had to go with, that she just had to. It's what my character would do, and then I was thinking the whole time, oh, poor Dylan, because now, like, he's outnumbered. Now it's not just Blaze who's going all out nuts on this guy. Now Quinn has completely lost her composure and is actually encouraging and rooting Blaze on to take this guy down. And poor Saroon, I don't know if he has the capability at this point, at least, to diffuse it as well. Although his natural 20 was super useful, so mad props to Saroon for being able to I guess, stun the Blade and Blaze in the process, as well as following up with persuasion, a really high persuasion check to calm down the mountain. But even after then, Quinn was furious. She was so, like, probably even more upset than with Hem, because Hem, she was definitely ticked off. But with this guy, she could understand a little bit with Hem, because Hem is a younger girl, and I guess she kind of expects that out of her, and maybe she probably should have expected, not much less from this other guy, but I don't know. I think she was just, the way that she was behaving after that, just she needed to release some steam, because that whole situation was just got deep into her skin. Um, the time at the castle was a lot of fun. I mean, it was really cool to be able to interact with the bard, of course. But I mean, me as the player, I kind of would have wanted to have Blaze especially, Blaze and Saroon involved more with talking to the people. I guess it kind of makes sense with the bard, But when we went into the doghouse, I I can understand why Blaze wanted to stay away from Ray the Destroyer as much as possible. That made a lot of sense, but it didn't mean that, I didn't miss, me, the player, didn't miss Blaze being there with Saroon and Quinn. Because it seems like there's an awful, whenever we need to talk to people, it seems like it's mostly Saroon and Quinn. It's their show, and Blaze is kind of, in the background. And then maybe that's another reason why I wanted this session to be more action-packed, because I kind of wanted Andrew to, be pulled into a lot of these situations. Because right now, the situations that we've put ourselves into, or found ourselves in, have been more conducive towards Quinn's and Saroon's shtick versus Blaze's shtick. Of course, then we have that also results in very entertaining things with Blaze in the castle as well. But anyway, so yeah, I guess my biggest critique about this session is a lot happened, but at the same time, a lot didn't happen, quote unquote. And I think that Devin, I'm glad that Devin is aware of it, and he's going to make a few adjustments to address it, and hopefully we'll have a lot more of an action-packed session in the episode 10, I guess. So that's all I've got today, so thank you guys for watching, and until next time, love yourselves and love each other.